Hi, everyone, and welcome to the top 10 strategies for marketing your business on LinkedIn. If that was the presentation you were expecting today, you're in the right place, and we'll get started here in just a couple minutes, okay? Thank you. Hi, everybody. Welcome again to the top 10 strategies for marketing your business on LinkedIn. We've still got a number of people joining us here, so we're going to give it one more minute. So now's a great time if you have any last minute emails you need to finish up or need to go grab a drink of water. Please feel free to go ahead and do so, and we'll get started here in just another minute. Thank you. Okay, everybody, welcome again to the top 10 strategies for marketing your business on LinkedIn. Let's go ahead and get rolling here. A couple of logistics before we get started with the presentation. One, just want to let you know that I will be recording this, and we'll get you out a replay of that recording here in the next 24 or 48 hours or so. So you can just sit back and relax. You have access to all this information. Also, just want to let you know that there's a question box below the presentation there. If you have any questions during the presentation, please go ahead and submit them in that box. I won't stop during the presentation just to make sure we get through everything today. But at the end of the presentation, I will take questions. And if for some reason I can't answer it today, I'll get back to you here in just the next couple of days, personally, either myself or somebody from my team, to make sure we follow up with you. Finally, on the image of the presentation itself, if you hover over it, with your mouse, you'll see a little icon pop up on the lower right-hand portion of the image of the presentation there. If you click on that, you can watch the presentation in full screen mode. So if that's easier for you, go ahead and do that, and you can just hit the escape key at any time, and that will bring you back to the view that you are currently in. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started here again with the top 10 strategies for marketing your business on LinkedIn. In today's presentation, we're going to cover why you need to pay attention to LinkedIn, how to use LinkedIn to grow your business, and then key takeaways and questions. So why you need to pay attention to LinkedIn, this kind of sums it up here, this graph that shows the incredible growth that LinkedIn has experienced since its founding in 2003-2004 time period. And what's amazing is if you look at the growth from 2011 to 2012, they grew by 50 million visitors. That was their biggest growth of any one-year period. So things are not slowing down for LinkedIn. It continues to generate a tremendous amount of momentum. And in fact, in this last year, it passed 200 million active members in the community, which is really just quite incredible. I mean, when you consider that there's slightly more than 250 million or so people living in the United States, roughly. LinkedIn is now one of the larger countries in the world. So pretty incredible growth, and certainly worth paying attention to at your business. The other thing that's unique about LinkedIn compared to the other social networks that are out there like Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and things like that is that LinkedIn has an exclusively professional image, right? It is the professional or business social networking site. That is the expectation that people have of LinkedIn. So you're not going to find pictures of people's cats and babies and goofy videos and things like that on LinkedIn. It is a professional environment, and will always stay that way. The other very important thing about LinkedIn is that there is an openness inside of LinkedIn for people to create new professional contacts and new relationships. It's kind of a safe way of doing networking. It's a safe way of establishing some new contacts and getting some new introductions. And people are very receptive to that on LinkedIn. And then finally, by having a well-optimized profile on LinkedIn, you can generate a lot of visibility and website traffic. So you can see here I just did a search for Denver financial planners and limited the results to financial planners in the greater Denver area. You can see down here by this checkbox, and you can see that this gentleman Tyler Morris comes up on top. And has some sort of portfolio investment research at Lighthouse and a financial services business. And you can actually see down here below, Laura is actually in service leadership and sales excellence at a computer and network security business. Dan is in marketing and advertising. Lori is marketing and advertising. What this says to me is that Tyler is the only person that has actually optimized his profile well to make sure that when people go into LinkedIn and search for Denver financial planners, he shows up. So there's a lot of financial planners here that are missing out a lot of visibility and traffic, as well as the search engines are big fans of LinkedIn and LinkedIn profiles. So by having a really well optimized LinkedIn profile, you can also get that profile to rank really well in the search engines and get you a lot of visibility that way as well. So those are the handful of key reasons to really pay attention and invest in LinkedIn for yourself personally and for your business. Now let's dive into the top 10 strategies on how to take full advantage of LinkedIn at your business. So the first one is to get a company page on LinkedIn. And I find that a lot of businesses don't even know that you can have a company page on LinkedIn. And a lot of people ask me, well, how is a company page different from my personal profile that I have on LinkedIn? So you can see this is an example of a personal LinkedIn profile, and I figured who better to look at here to show as a case study than the CEO of LinkedIn. So this is the profile of the CEO at LinkedIn, and you can see that this profile is all about him personally, right? And that's what you have probably experienced in LinkedIn. You have your personal profile where you put information about you and the positions you've had and the business you're in and things like that, where you went to school, all that good stuff. So that's a personal profile. And then this is the company profile for LinkedIn, or the company page for LinkedIn. So you can see here, again, the red arrow there, that's pointing to the fact that this is a page for LinkedIn, the company itself. And there are, some significant differences here to point out. So this company page is designed essentially like another website, but inside of LinkedIn. So it's almost like you have a second website for your business inside of LinkedIn. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, again, going back to the benefits that I mentioned before in terms of why you'd want to pay attention to LinkedIn, this is a fantastic way to get exposure for your company, for the people that work at your company, for the products and services that you're producing, and for any career opportunities that you may have available for your business, and also just establishing new vendor and potential customer and partner relationships. So you can see here some of the big differences on this company page that make it, like I said, more like a whole new website, is you can see here you've got this site navigation up here, where similar to a website, you have the home page, careers, products and services, and insights. You can choose your site image. So you can put whatever image that you want up here. You could have a picture of your products or services or your office or your team, and can certainly rotate that out frequently. Down here you have company posts. This acts very similar to a blog on your company website, but it's inside of LinkedIn. And then over here you can see how me doing the search, how I'm connected to people at LinkedIn. So in this case, I don't have any direct connections. You can see everybody's at the second level, which means I have connections that have connections at LinkedIn. Right? So again, this is like a entire additional website inside of LinkedIn. So, well, why do you need one? One is to make sure that you have a good place inside of LinkedIn to tell your company's story. There will be personal profiles that reference your company inside of LinkedIn, so your employees and things like that work at your company could have your company mentioned in their personal profile. But there's no depth to that. It really just says this is the company that I worked at. Well, this is your opportunity to really tell your company's story, give the full background, highlight your products and services, and then engage with followers. Particularly you'll see this around career opportunities and using your LinkedIn company page as an opportunity to recruit, but it's also a great way to find and build relationships with new vendors and new partners. So it's pretty critical nowadays that a company actually has a page inside of LinkedIn, in particular if you are trying to do any sort of recruiting at a significant scale. All right, number 2, make sure your profiles are complete and optimized. Okay, if you've been inside of LinkedIn much, you'll see that LinkedIn actually does a good job of telling you when you have not completed your profile here. So you can see this little box is telling me 25% profile completeness, and then it gives me some profile completion tips and tells me the areas that I really need to work on. So I need to add a position, a place that I have worked, a job that I've had. I need to add my educational background, right? Add a picture, add a summary of me and what I'm all about. Any specialties that I have in terms of particular skill sets or talents. And then also get recommendations from people that I've worked with in the past that would be willing to endorse me in the work that I've done. So if I were to do all of those things, then I would start to get a nice complete profile. Now over here are some additional things that LinkedIn has rolled out more recently of things that you can also add to your profile. So you've got the experience, the summary. Here are any significant projects you've worked on, languages that you know, publications that you're a part of, test scores, courses you've taken, patents, certification, and volunteering and causes. So you can see that if you complete this profile, you start to have a pretty darn good picture of the things that you've done in your career. And people will easily be able to come and learn a great deal about you, which is the objective of LinkedIn, right? They want you to share as much of your professional information so that other people inside of LinkedIn will find it valuable to use LinkedIn as a source for finding good people to connect with. So LinkedIn puts a lot of value on having a complete profile, and if you don't have a complete profile, you will certainly lose out on a lot of visibility inside of LinkedIn as well as in the search engines. So let me share you some tips for optimizing your profile. One, you want to have a strong headline. Okay, this is both for a company page and also for your personal page. You want to have a good headline that captures what you're all about. A professional picture, right? You have the opportunity to put pictures up inside of LinkedIn. You want to make sure that they're professional, that they're nicely done, that they're clear, and that you're putting your best foot forward, of course, to display there for the world. Publish content of your own. Okay, publishing articles that you've written, presentations that you've given, videos that you've created, things like that. Those are a fantastic way to demonstrate your expertise and your knowledge. And LinkedIn loves that you're sharing that type of content inside of LinkedIn. It just makes for, again, a richer environment where people are better able to find good quality information. Use keywords you want to identify with. So if you're familiar with search engine optimization, so search engine optimization, is this process and kind of methodology around getting your website to rank well in the search engines. And one of the keys to it, maybe the most important thing, is to make sure that you are optimizing your site to certain keywords, which is just to say that you want to use the keywords that people are using to search for your products and services in the web. So if I sell, racing motorcycles, right, and people go into the search engines and that's the phrase that they use, racing motorcycles, to find my types of products, then I want to make sure that my website uses those terms as well. Well, it's the same thing in LinkedIn. You want to make sure that in your profile you are using the keywords that you want associated with you and with your company. So on a personal level, let's say that you are a technology startup sales specialist. Well, then you would want to make sure that whatever exact language that is that describes that position and that expertise that you have is used throughout your profile, so that when people go and search for that they find you. Okay, so it's very important to use the keywords that you want to identify with. And then finally, on your profile, you should connect with as many people as possible. Okay, LinkedIn is a social network, so you want to have as many connections as you possibly can. And if you don't have very many connections, then LinkedIn will not place as much value on your profile because they either see that you're not a very engaging person in the real world, or you have not engaged within LinkedIn. Either way, they don't like it. So connect with as many people as possible. There's no real reason to not connect with people on LinkedIn. This isn't like Facebook where you're inside of Facebook all day long, as some people are, and you're just getting this flood of updates that are distracting, with inside of Facebook or Twitter. LinkedIn is a different environment than that, and you're not going to suffer that same type of issue. So it definitely benefits you to have as many connections as possible to as many people as possible. One, LinkedIn likes that, and two, obviously that's building out your real social network. All right, strategy number 3 is to post regular updates inside of LinkedIn. So why post regularly inside of LinkedIn? Well, one, these updates will appear in LinkedIn Network Updates, which is essentially it's saying that your updates will show up in the news and feeds of all the other people that are using LinkedIn. And this will help you stay top of mind with the audiences that you're trying to reach. It will position you as a good source of information, right, and of expertise. So if you're doing the things that I mentioned earlier, publishing articles you've written, events that are coming up, presentations that you've done, things like that, people will view you as a good source of information for those particular topics or within that industry. And other people will take notice of that and connect with you. So again, building out that greater business or professional social network. So when I'm talking about posting updates, I'm actually referring here to this activity feed area. So this is telling you things that are published by Jeff, and then you can see here a link that says see more. And I've got to tell you, Jeff, maybe because he's the CEO of LinkedIn, has a little bit fancier representation here of his activity than most people have. Most people, it's not quite as exciting looking, but he's got these great, images and nice strong headlines. And then if you click see more here, you can see here it takes you out to this really neat, it's almost like a blog environment, but it's like they're using Pinterest type of style to make it more interesting. So you can see here, this is content that Jeff has published. Best advice, lessons from Dad and Steve Jobs, the future of LinkedIn and the economic graph from Seinfeld to sushi, how to master your, something like a cut off there. So he's sharing good information. He's making himself a real person, not just the CEO of this major company, and building relationships out there. It's developing his personal brand as well. I'm sure very strategically developing the brand of LinkedIn to make it seem like, an approachable company for people that might consider working there or partnering with them. So, putting these kinds of updates, these updates get shared with the greater LinkedIn community. So putting this type of content up here is great exposure for you and your company. So what kind of content to share? Well, as I said before, articles you've written, company news, industry news, any sort of events or meetings or webinars that you have coming up that would be interesting to people. These are all great pieces of content to share within LinkedIn. So some tips for updating. A great tip is there's a LinkedIn share button that you can add to your browser. So this is just a little button that you'll put inside of your browser so that when you find a piece of content out there on the web that you think is worth sharing, you just hit that button and it easily shares it into your LinkedIn profile for you. So the way I suggest you use that in a lot of cases here is to publish your content on your own website or your blog, and then use that LinkedIn browser button to share it. So now you're getting exposure for the content that you created on your website, your blog, within LinkedIn, and you're also getting traffic that will come from LinkedIn to your website and your blog, where then they will most likely engage in other content you've created or explore your website and potentially contact you. So publish content yourself out on the web, out on your blog, videos, articles, things like that, and then share them using that LinkedIn share button. Include catchy images. As I showed you before in Jeff's updates there, you can see those nice clear images. So you want to be thoughtful about that because the images really draw people's eyes, and if you make those interesting images, you'll have a much higher likelihood of getting that content read or viewed by somebody in the LinkedIn community. And then again, as we mentioned before, include keywords. You want to make sure that your content is associated with the keywords that you are trying to rank for or brand yourself for. All right, strategy number 4 here, make lots of connections. As I said before, LinkedIn is a social network. Now, it's the professional social network, but it still is very much a a social network. So you can see here, John Jantsch, founder of Duct Tape Marketing, great company. He's got 500 plus connections here, right? So this is telling you how many connections to have. And then this is a great way to connect with other people. So let's say I went to John's profile to check him out. Well, you can see people similar to John over here, and that's similar by the type of work they do, the positions that they have, the companies that they have or work for, things like that. So this is a great place to explore other people that you might want to connect with. And then also down here are people that were also viewed by the people who viewed John Jantsch. So if I searched for John Jantsch, then there's a good likelihood that I also viewed these people, Guy Kawasaki, Anita Campbell, Mari Smith. So these are also great people to check out and make a connection with. Another great way to get your connections into LinkedIn is if you go right up here to the top of your navigation bars in LinkedIn, you'll see Contacts. And then if you see right here, you have Connections and Add Connections. When you click on that Add Connections, it will give you this box here, this page here that says See Who You Already Know on LinkedIn. Get started by adding your email address. So all you need to do is put in your email address or addresses here, and it will go out and hunt through your contacts and establish connections to the ones on LinkedIn for you. So it's just a really nice, efficient way of getting contacts into LinkedIn very quickly. All right, so some tips here for adding connections. 1, make it a daily routine. Okay, especially if you're in any sort of sales position or business development position, should be something that you're doing every single day, is reaching out and making those new connections. If you're out and about town, collect business cards from everyone that you meet, and then make sure at the end of the day that you're putting those into LinkedIn and making those connections. Connect with everyone that you've worked with in the past. Have all of your employees, if you're the business owner, have all of your employees build LinkedIn profiles, and then make sure that they all connect with you, connect to your company page, that you connect to all of them, that they connect with each other, right? Those relationships mean a lot in LinkedIn. And then finally, I suggest that you accept all connection invites. Okay, and again, I say that because this is a social network, and really, there's pretty much no downside to having as many connections as you possibly can in LinkedIn. You'll see some people have, 10,000 connections in LinkedIn. Now, they don't personally know all of those people, but that's okay. They have some reason why those people wanted to connect that benefits them in business and expands their overall network and visibility. All right, strategy number 5, promote your page with your other web properties. Okay, and I should say actually just other properties, not just web properties. So you should put your LinkedIn URL on your website, on your blog, but you should also put it on your business cards, put it in your email signature so that every time you send an email, it's there at the bottom, and also include it in your other social networks like Facebook and LinkedIn. So, Facebook and Twitter. You should just, put this link to your profile everywhere that you possibly can to get more and more exposure. All right, strategy number 6, get recommendations from happy customers, vendors, and employees. Okay, this is a perfect place to share what the world thinks of your products and services and you as a professional. Okay, it just makes sense to do that inside of this LinkedIn environment. So here you can see some company or product recommendations. So this is for the Sales Cloud from Salesforce.com, and you can see these people have recommended it. Down here you would see another 332 recommendations for a similar product, and then you can see the individual people who are using and recommend Sales Cloud. Okay, so if you've got a great product or service out there, you've got good loyal customers that are fans of yours, definitely get them to recommend your products and services within LinkedIn. And then of course there's personal recommendations, right? For you personally, you as a professional, and this is what those look like. So you can see here Charles Best speaking about Jeff, the CEO of LinkedIn, and talking about all the great things he's done for him. Here's an executive in residence at Excel Partners also. So these are the titles that Jeff held. These are the people that are vouching for his work in those titles. Okay, so Jeff was an executive in residence at Excel Partners. Adam is vouching for the work that he did while he was there. So, LinkedIn says, okay, let's put up all of the roles that you've had and then get people to vouch for your performance in those roles. So obviously a great place, again, to collect these recommendations. So tips for getting recommendations. First of all, do great work and build great products. Okay? That's the same way that you get referrals in business, and that's essentially what a recommendation is, right? It's almost like a referral. So do great work and build great products. Those are definitely the best and easiest ways to get recommendations from people. But oftentimes you do need to go out there and kind of give people a gentle nudge to ask for those recommendations. So my suggestion there is just don't force it. Don't be too aggressive about it. That can kind of turn people off and work against you. So maybe just send a polite request to people that you think you have a really good chance of getting a recommendation with. And then last is recommend others, right? There's this sense of reciprocity. If you go and write up something nice about somebody that you've worked with, they'll oftentimes return the favor to you. Okay, and I think the most important thing here is just don't force it. Okay, do great work, build great products, write recommendations for other people, and you will get recommendations coming your way as well. All right, strategy number 7 is to advertise. LinkedIn has a great advertising network. It's very simple and fast to use. It has excellent targeting. You can get huge exposure to an otherwise very hard to reach group of people. Right? I mean, because you can advertise straight to the CEOs of companies or straight to other specific titles of people that you're trying to reach that maybe, picking up the phone and trying to reach them is nearly impossible. but you can put an ad right in front of them on LinkedIn. And considering that you can do that, compared to other forms of marketing, it's quite affordable. It's not the cheapest form of online advertising, but there's a good reason for that, right? They're giving you very direct access to some very powerful professional people. So where do you find the ability to advertise on LinkedIn? This is a screenshot essentially just of the very bottom of the page inside of LinkedIn, and you'll see there an advertising option. And if you just click on that, it will take you to get set up with your advertising account inside of LinkedIn. So here's just some examples of what some ads can look like in LinkedIn. You can see they can contain a nice little image or graphic. And then otherwise, these look very similar to just a good old Google AdWords ad that you're probably familiar with a headline, a couple lines of text, and then a URL for you to click on. There are a variety of formats, though, to test inside of LinkedIn. These are not the only ones. In fact, they just rolled out pretty recently video ads inside of LinkedIn. So that's definitely something to check out. That's pretty compelling. Fantastic thing about advertising LinkedIn, as I mentioned before, is the targeting. So you can target by title, company, location, groups they belong to, skills they have, their gender, their age, where they went to school. It really is pretty amazing. You can see here in my case, I just went to create a campaign just to show you here. So I chose people that were only in North America, that had the job title of CEO, and that went to Harvard University. So just by doing that, I have narrowed it down to 2,638 LinkedIn members. Okay, so now I can run ads just to CEOs who went to Harvard, that have companies in North America. So that's a very powerful audience, obviously, and I'm going to get to target them very specifically. So some advertising strategies inside of LinkedIn to help you. One, always split test your ads. And what I mean by that, if you're not familiar with split testing, is always run 2 ads at a time with something different between the 2 ads. Just one thing different between the 2 ads, right? So it could be that you change the headline. It could be that you change the picture. Whatever it is, by split testing, you will essentially find out what works best, and that will allow you to constantly improve the effectiveness of your advertising. Get very targeted, right? Take advantage of their targeting. Really hone in on the audience that you're going after. Test totally different images, as I mentioned before in the split tests. Images can be, are the first thing that draws somebody's eye to your ad. So it really, really, really benefits you to do some big experimentation with the images that you're using. And then test different ad formats. Okay, as I mentioned before, that whole video thing, that's pretty exciting. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of that here going forward. But test the different formats to see if one works for you better than the other. All right, strategy number 8 is to participate in LinkedIn groups. Why groups? Well, groups are a collection of people by interest or industry or job role. That makes it a great place to make connections and to find your target audience. Okay, so let's say that you're trying to reach only marketing professionals at digital agencies. Well, you can find groups inside of LinkedIn that are made up entirely of digital marketing professionals, right, at digital agencies. So you can get very, very targeted. There's almost no limit to the number of groups that you're going to find on LinkedIn and the types of ways or the subject matters that they organize around. And these groups, if you go and participate in them, it's a great way to demonstrate your expertise, position yourself as a resource, and build new connections with your target audience. So here's a nice, easy way to find some of the groups that are in LinkedIn. If you just go to the groups navigation link there up top, and then click on that, and it'll show you an option, to go to groups you may like. And essentially what's happening here is that LinkedIn is looking at my profile, the information in my profile, and saying, hey, based on what we see, we think you're going to like these types of groups. But you can also just search by keywords for any type of group that you want. Okay, and like I said, it's amazing the numbers of them. I mean, look at this one, social media marketing, 551,000 members. E-marketing association, 503,000 members. So these groups can be very, very powerful places to get in and build some new connections and do some marketing. Now, some tips for interacting with these groups. One, connect with the individuals in the group, right? Connect with the individuals that are in that group and say, hey, I'm also a member of such and such group. Thought it'd be great to connect. Answer questions within the group. This is one of the best ways to, again, position yourself as an expert and a resource and get other people connecting to you, is to be helpful, right? Answer questions, share your ideas, share your knowledge, share resources that you have, and you will start getting people coming to you. Another great way is to start thoughtful discussions, right? Start thoughtful discussions. Ask some sort of thoughtful question, something thought-provoking that gets people engaged in a dialogue with you. And then most importantly, do not spam within these groups. What I mean is, don't go in there into these groups and all of a sudden just start blasting everybody with, ads for your products or your services or what you're trying to get from them. Okay, nothing will turn you off quicker, and you will get kicked out of a lot of groups that way. Right, number 9 is to create your own group. Okay, if groups are so powerful, don't just participate in them, create your own. This really allows you to show your expertise and demonstrate leadership in a particular subject matter, and it gives you control over the conversation. You can largely control what takes place in that group. And you can also message your group members when you are the owner of a group. That's a super, super powerful feature, because now you've created this list of prospects that you can message within LinkedIn. All right, so some tips here. Here's a group, Inbound Marketers for Marketing Professionals. And this is a big, popular group. And so one, the name is important. That name was used specifically because those are the keywords that the owners of this group are trying to capitalize on. You should create a group for the audience that you're targeting. So I know that the owners of this group are actually selling software for inbound marketers. Okay, so they figure, well, let's create a group, attract all the inbound marketers, and then, of course, they'll be interested in our software. And then design a good group logo to fit. So these are just some simple best practices for you to take advantage of inside your groups. All right, and then strategy number 10 here, last one, is use introductions and InMail to reach out to people. Okay, so as an example, let's say I wanted to contact Michelle Henry here. So you can see this option to send InMail. So InMail is a service that you get through LinkedIn that really, if you want to take advantage of, you have to pay. You have to become a paid subscriber of LinkedIn. This is one of the ways that LinkedIn generates so much revenue, is by salespeople and other professionals that want to reach out to potential contacts inside of LinkedIn have to pay to send these people an email. Now the beautiful thing about that is that it keeps the amount of spam down, right? If someone has to pay to contact you, then they're much more thoughtful. So you don't get a ton of spam like you can get in other social media environments or just in your mailbox. And then the other way is to make introductions. The power of LinkedIn is that it shows you, hey, if you're trying to reach, if Chappelle here is trying to reach Chris, it's showing that there are a couple of shared connections. So Chappelle doesn't know Chris directly, but Chappelle knows these two people who know Chris. So she can say, hey, would you mind making an introduction for me? It seems you know Chris, and I'd like to get to know him. So really nice, powerful way to make introductions and find new people within LinkedIn. All right, so those were our top 10 strategies for using LinkedIn to help you build your business. Some key takeaways. So one, LinkedIn is the best social network for lead generation for business professionals. You can see here in this survey, in this data on visit to lead conversion rate. So Twitter has a 0.69%, Facebook 0.77%, LinkedIn all the way up at 2.74%. So the leads that you can generate and the relationships that you can generate inside of LinkedIn are actually much more productive than the other social networks. There's a quick case study I'd share with you here from James Filbert. James built a $5 million business through efforts almost exclusively on LinkedIn. How did he do that? Well, he made sure he had a very complete profile. He joined 50 relevant groups. He spent 1 hour weekly participating in those groups, again, starting thought-provoking conversations, answering questions, and connecting with people. And then those people that he connected with, he sent an introduction message to and asked them for a phone call. By doing that, he was able to fill his pipeline with good qualified prospects and build a $5 million business, and he credits LinkedIn almost exclusively as his business generation vehicle. So this is a nice, simple process that anybody can follow here. Complete your profile, join those groups, spend 1 hour participating in those groups each week, send connections to the group members, and then ask for a phone call to introduce yourself and try and move that relationship forward. So in summary, LinkedIn is an easy and cost-effective way to expand your reach, to brand yourself and your company, to engage your prospects and customers, and to network with key influencers in your industry. There's no other social network that makes it so easy, and honestly, I don't think there's anything in the real world, in the offline world, that makes it this easy as well. So be strategic in your use of LinkedIn, and I'm sure you'll have great results. All right, thank you very much for joining me on this presentation on the top 10 uses of LinkedIn, top 10 strategies to build your business using LinkedIn. And I appreciate your time. These are the types of things that we help our clients with, is developing strategies online for marketing their business, finding new revenue, and increasing their visibility and presence online. LinkedIn is one of the vehicles that we use, but it's one of many. If you feel like there's any questions or opportunities to help you with LinkedIn or any other components of your marketing strategy, I'd certainly appreciate the opportunity to talk to you. So you can see here all around this presentation my contact information for myself and my team here at our business, phone number, all that good stuff. So certainly love to hear from you if you're interested in exploring some ideas on how to use LinkedIn or other web marketing strategies at your business. So let me go ahead and answer. I see a few questions that came in. Let me go ahead and go through these. So Jim asks, what's the real difference in my mind between LinkedIn and Facebook in terms of the marketing potential of each? Jim, that's a great question. I mean, I think that LinkedIn and Facebook are both incredible marketing vehicles, but they are quite different. Facebook, obviously is a much more consumer-oriented environment, and people are in there sharing pictures of their pets, their dogs, their babies, what they did over the weekend, things like that. It's much less formal, and it's massive, of course. I mean, it's roughly 4 times the size or 5 times the size of LinkedIn. So it's an incredible opportunity, I think, primarily for consumer-based offers and consumer-based advertising. So if you're selling business to consumer, then I think that Facebook is fantastic. It's hard to beat. But if you're selling business to business, there's nothing better than LinkedIn. It is a much smaller audience, but it's a very refined audience. It's a very professional audience, and it gives you the ability to access people that you would probably not otherwise be able to access. So I think that they're both fantastic. It really depends on what you're selling and what your goals are. Let's see here. Somebody asks. Somebody says. Let's see here. Oh, this is Susan says. I mentioned earlier that you can get your LinkedIn profile ranked very highly in Google. What are the tips to do that? So it's just like ranking any other piece of content in Google, except for you're starting from a great position in that the piece of content is native to LinkedIn, and Google loves LinkedIn. So most important things, make sure you have a very complete profile. Make sure that you are using the keywords that you want to rank for in that profile, particularly in the headline and things like that. And then, get traffic to that profile. So make sure you have a lot of connections. Make sure that you are building links back to that profile. If you do those things, you will find that LinkedIn profile most likely will rank very quickly. All right, let's see our last question. Jerry says, can I send messages from LinkedIn en masse? Okay, so you've got all these contacts on LinkedIn. Can you shoot them out a big email blast? The answer is yes and no. So there are some ways that you can message your contacts at a decent volume inside of LinkedIn. But LinkedIn is smart in that they want to make sure that you don't use it for spamming people, because then LinkedIn will definitely not have the viability as a real business tool that it does today. People will quickly run from anything where they get spammed like crazy. But there are ways. That being said, there are ways. One, again, if you are a controller of a group, that's a great way. And two, actually, there's a way that you can sort your contacts and select a list of contacts and send them a message. And I can't remember the limit on how many you can do at once, but there is a limit, again, to make sure that you're not spamming. So it's not just like a normal email tool where you can just really blast everybody, which I think is a really, really good thing. Okay, but I'm happy to share that with you, Jerry. If it's something that you want to look into, we can certainly put together just a quick training for you on how exactly to do that. Okay, that's it, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me again for Top 10 Strategies on how to use LinkedIn to market your business. I hope you got some good takeaways from this today. And again, if there's anything that we can do at our team over here to help you out with your LinkedIn strategy or just your overall online marketing strategy, we'd love for you to get in touch. We promise it won't be a high-pressure sales pitch, but just a good conversation to see if there might be a fit. Okay? Thank you very much again for joining me, and have a great day.